My name is Emily Parsons. I'm 34 years old, and I live in Austin, Texas. Before I start, I need to make something clear. I care too much about what others think. I always have. Maybe that's why I did what I did. Maybe that's why there's no turning back for my soul. Since I was a child, I knew that something about me was ... off. While the other girls at school received glances, flowers, and compliments, I was their shadow. The supporting character. The girl who stood in the corner, eating in the cafeteria, listening to muffled laughter behind her back. I tried to compensate with my brain. I was intelligent, read a lot, studied everything. My grades were impeccable, and my parents admired me. But they never understood me. My mother, Linda, was a model in her youth. Truly beautiful, blonde, elegant, with a tiny waist. When she walked with me through the mall, people would whisper, "How did a woman like that have a daughter like this?" My father never said anything, but it was easy to see the disappointment in his eyes every time an aunt commented. Emily definitely took after his side of the family, didn't she? I spent my adolescence trying to hide, and also trying to love someone. The first boy I fell in love with used me, and then spread it all over the school how he was doing charity with me. He called me a fixer-upper woman. Since then, I've done things alone. Dating? No. I was just the cool friend, the little sister that guys liked to use as a therapist. Never as a girlfriend, never as a woman. Things changed when I entered college to study psychology. There, I met incredible girls. Intelligent, beautiful, confident. It was as if the whole world had forgotten to tell me how to become a desirable woman. And I was there, stuck in time. I started looking for answers. It was one of those late nights, while browsing an old paranormal forum, which looked more like a Reddit underworld, that I read about Lilith, not as a religious entity, but as an archetype, the primal energy of wild femininity, of lust, of seduction. A girl described how she invoked Lilith to awaken what she called her hidden power. She said that after that, men desired her without explanation, that women were jealous of her, that she became ... irresistible. That night, something inside me ignited. I stayed awake until sunrise, researching. I didn't want to make a pact. I just wanted to change, to be noticed, to be desired. I started with small rituals. Prints of Lilith taped around the room, red candles and myrrh incense lit, while I repeated affirmations like, "I am desire, I am fire, I am Lilith." Yes, I know how that sounds, but it worked, at least at first. I started to look at myself in the mirror and like what I saw. My body seemed to respond better to exercise. My skin improved. Even my gaze seemed deeper. Guys started to notice. Small glances on the subway. A flotation at a coffee shop. A bold invitation at a party I didn't even plan to go to. I should have stopped there. But the more you have, the more you want. The more she gives you, the more she takes. After a few weeks with the archetype rituals, the change became impossible to ignore. It wasn't just aesthetic, it was energetic. I no longer entered places as an extra. Now, I happened in the environment. At work, colleagues from other departments started inviting me to lunch. Married men sent me messages at odd hours, and the women, some started looking at me with suspicion, others with admiration. Some even asked me if I had surgery because I had a different vibe. I smiled, saying it was just self-care. But it wasn't. I knew what was happening. She was getting closer, and I let her. The candlelit baths became longer. I started trading psychology books for digital grimoires and closed forums. Every night I repeated affirmations while touching myself, offering the energy of my pleasure as an offering. Lilith, I open myself to you. Lilith, awaken in me what has been denied. It was at this point that I started dreaming about her. It wasn't exactly a dream. It was like a presence in the room, always in the corner, where the light from the lamp didn't reach. A tall woman with dark hair falling over her shoulders and eyes that had no end. She didn't speak. She just looked at me, and I felt the desire burning on my skin. One of those nights, when I was alone in my apartment, I drank 2 glasses of wine, lit the red candles, and sat in front of the mirror. The same ritual as always. Only, this time, something changed. I started to laugh, not with joy, with nervousness, as if there was another laugh along with mine, inside my mouth, but not mine. And, when my eyes met those in the reflection, I saw, it wasn't just me there anymore. The mirror returned a look that I never had. My face was ... different, more beautiful, yes, but inhuman, as if my version in the glass had a knowledge that I couldn't reach. A smile that didn't end on the lips. She winked before I did. That's when I heard the voice. Soft, almost a whisper, but direct, like a command. You are ready. The next day, I received a message from an anonymous user in the closed occult forum where I posted. She said she had read my reports, called me an awakened sister, and wanted to give me instructions for a real pact. You are on the border. If you cross ... you cannot go back. But on the other side, there is power. I hesitated, a lot, for days. Until one day, walking down the street, I noticed that people were looking at me as if I were made of molten gold. Men slowed down their cars to look at me. Women murmured things under their breath when I passed. And one of them, a young, handsome guy who looked like a lawyer, followed me for 2 blocks, just to ask my name. I felt fear, but I also felt something worse. Pleasure. That night, I did what the message said. I traced the circle on the floor with black salt. I put red wine in a silver cup. I lit 13 candles around the room, and I stripped completely naked. With my heart racing, I offered her what was left of my innocence and my sanity. I spoke the words in whispers. I gave my essence. I gave everything. When I finished, I saw something. Or rather, someone. In the corner of the room, where the light didn't reach, she was there. Lilith, not a demonic entity like in movies. She was ... sublime. An impossible beauty. A dizzying presence. You want what everyone wants, she said. But are you willing to pay what no one else is? I was shaking, but I said yes. Then serve me, desire me, feed me, and I will give you what the world has denied you. And, at that moment, she smiled. In the beginning, it seemed like a miracle. My appearance improved in a way that not even aesthetic medicine could explain. The skin was firmer, more vibrant. My features seemed sculpted. It was as if someone had pressed an internal button, the divine button. And I'm not exaggerating. Even my silhouette changed, without dieting, without surgery. The looks were different now, not just desire, but veneration. In the first week after the pact, I received 3 indecent proposals, and one of them with figures. An older man, an executive, saw me in a bar with the girls from work, and simply offered me everything. Dinner, gifts, money. He didn't even know my name, and I said yes. In the second week, I wasn't going to work anymore. I resigned. I said I was going to focus on my studies, but the truth is that I wanted more of that, of the easy life, of luxury, of the feeling of being desired by everyone. I started circulating in circles where before I wouldn't have entered, even as a waitress. I became a luxury escort. I chose the clients, and I charged a lot, because now I was worth it, or I thought I was. In the beginning, everything was perfect. Men cried for me. Women hated me in silence. I was desired, feared, admired. It was exactly what I asked for. But then the dreams started. In the first ones, she just watched me from the edge of the bed. Then she spoke. "You owe me." And I would wake up with a headache, my body exhausted, as if I had run a marathon while sleeping. I started forgetting appointments, losing track of time. Some nights I woke up with marks on my body, small bruises, scratches, as if someone had touched me while I slept. My clothes were out of place, the candles lit, the bathroom mirror fogged up with words that I didn't remember writing. "You belong to me." I tried to stop. I swear I tried. I spent days without doing the rituals. I burned the papers with the names of the pacts. I threw away the incense and put out the altar. But she didn't go away. On the contrary, she got stronger. In the third week, a client took me to a 5-star hotel in Santa Monica. He was married, full of money, one of those who think they can buy the world. During dinner, he treated me like a doll. He told me to be quiet, laugh at the right time, pose as an ornament. In the suite, when he tried to force me to something I didn't want, I said no, and he laughed. He said he paid me too much to hear no. That's when she appeared. Not physically, but I felt it, like a wave of heat rising up my spine, like 1,000 voices whispering in the dark. The man stopped. He became static. Then he fell to the floor, as if he had been electrocuted. He started to cry. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I don't know why I did that. ... He left the room like a cornered animal, without looking back. On the bed, lying down, I was shaking, not with fear, with pleasure. That's what she wanted. Dominion, obedience, will bent by force. And I was giving it to her, even without realizing it. Little by little, I began to understand the extent of the pact. She didn't just want my body, she wanted my power, my energy, my soul. I no longer knew where I ended and she began. The men who touched me said strange things. "You hypnotize me, ... You're not real, ... There's something about you that makes me forget the world." And then they disappeared. Without explanation, some started following me, sending me desperate messages. One of them showed up at the door of my building with flowers, crying, saying that he had dreamed that I died and that he couldn't stand it. I just laughed. But that night, I dreamed of him burying someone, and I woke up with the sheet stained with blood. But it wasn't mine. Something was getting out of control. Or maybe it never was in control. Lilith had fulfilled my wishes. Now she was collecting, feeding on my fame, on my lust, on my presence. She was getting stronger, ... inside me. And then came the nightmare that changed everything. I woke up in the middle of the night with an absurd heat. My room was on fire, literally, but the fire didn't burn. It danced around the bed, as if protecting me, and in the center of the room, her, Lilith, without a face, only hair, curves, and darkness. She approached and whispered, "You are no longer just human, my dear. You are my form on earth, my altar, my temple of flesh." And at that moment, I believed it. I was no longer a woman. I was an entity with the body of a woman, and whoever approached me would pay the price. After the fire that didn't burn, after the dream that seemed more real than any kiss I've ever received, I understood one thing. I was the offering and the altar. Lilith chose me, not as a servant, not as a daughter, but as a door. And when you become a door to something that should never pass through, you become a prison or a portal. In my case, I think I became both. At this point, I had already given up everything. I no longer saw clients. I didn't talk to friends. I didn't see my family, nor the eyes of others. Because every time someone looked at me for more than 10 seconds, something happened. People freaked out. People crashed their cars. People ... died. The beauty I so desired was a curse that tore people apart from the inside. Once, a neighbor tried to flirt with me in the elevator. 30 minutes later, his wife called me. He was locked in the bathroom, saying that a woman was inside him. He tore out his own eyes with a wine opener, and I knew he saw Lilith in me. I tried to get rid of her. I looked for priests, witches, umbanda, Wicca, psychiatrists. They all said the same thing. One way or another, you are not possessed. You are the thing, and that ... destroyed me. My only chance would be to return to the point of origin, the pact, the one I made in the dark room, with the cheap candle and the cheap wine. But it was too late. Lilith does not accept cancellation. She doesn't return the gift she gives, nor does she exchange it. The last attempt was again with her. With a woman from Orku, remember? The one who taught me the ritual. I found her contact after rummaging through an old account. I sent a message. I was persistent. I almost begged. She replied dryly, "You've gone too far. Now, there are only 2 exits." I asked what they were. She replied with a voice message that I deleted right after listening to it. But the words remained. Either you surrender completely, or you kill yourself. I went 2 days without eating, locked up, listening to Lilith inside my head, inside my body. She said, "Men used you as trash. Now you are gold. They crawl, they beg, they bleed for you. This is not hell, this is power." And I almost believed it. Almost. It was on the 3rd day that real hell began. I dreamed of a man. He had a blood-stained suit and empty eyes. He was sitting on the floor of my room and said, "She doesn't just want you. She wants to come through your womb." And he pointed to my stomach. I woke up with absurd cramps. I vomited blood. The shower water came out black. I took a pregnancy test. Positive, but that was impossible. I hadn't slept with anyone in months. And that's when I understood. Lilith didn't just want to live in me. She wanted to be born. The pregnancy progressed like a fast-forward movie. In weeks, my belly was visibly swollen. But the doctors couldn't find a heartbeat, nor anything in the ultrasounds. It was as if the uterus was full of silence. I started to feel movements, but they weren't kicks. They were scratches, from the inside out, as if something with nails was trying to get out. That's when I made my decision. If she wanted to be born, she would have to get over me. On the last night, I prepared everything. I lit candles. I drew her sigil on the floor. I wore the same clothes I wore on the day of the pact. And I said out loud, "Lilith, you had me. You made me yours. But I am not just yours. I am a woman. I am flesh. And I choose not to be your receptacle, nor your temple, nor your portal." The air became dense. Everything started to shake. The mirror burst on its own, and, finally, She appeared, not with a body, but with a presence. She was everywhere, inside me, outside of me, and she screamed, then died. It was at that moment that I blacked out. I woke up 3 days later in a hospital, my belly empty, without explanations. No fetus, no evidence of pregnancy. The doctor said, "We don't know what happened. Your body expelled ... something." But it wasn't human. Today, I live far away, very far away from everything. I reconnected with my mother. I went back to school. I dress differently. I think differently. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I still hear the whisper, "You were mine, and you always will be." And in the mirrors, from time to time, my eyes are no longer mine.